You are starting to decide in midlife as a woman that you want to start paving your own trail. You've maybe done a lot of things in your life to this point, checked boxes, maybe took care of other people, and you arrived to this point and you thought, is this all that there is? Is this it? Because I feel like there should be more. And I want to create a different space for myself to be in midlife than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. And so if this is you, then hang in with me. I am Jen. I'm a transformational midlife purpose coach. And what I do is work with women who are brilliantly successful and high achieving. And they've gotten to a place in their midlife where they realize that something got out of alignment. There's something that's not quite working for them. And they really need to change lanes and shift gears. And they're maybe scared, held back for a lot of reasons, perhaps a sense of responsibility, the financial stability. There's all kinds of reasons that women can feel really stuck in this stage. I can't talk today. And what I do is support you getting clarity, which sounds like my mouth can't find today, in exactly where you want to go, how you got where you are, where you're headed, and how you're going to actually do that, right? And so I get you really clear on your purpose, your strengths, your talents, and we get you feeling back in a space of feeling deeply powerful once again and being really clear on where you want to go and creating your legacy. Now, one of the things that can happen for us is that midlife can start to kind of cover us up, right? So sometimes we don't even know that there's some purpose stuff lingering underneath here because like we got a million other things going on. It might be like I'm launching kids. I might have an ailing parent, a million things going on, right? So what I like to do is break things down in bite-sized pieces to kind of get us moving through some of those layers that can cover us up and get us really aware, growing and going in a space of uncovering some of those pieces once again that are really and truly us. So in a minute, I'm going to talk about how to do that. I'm going to talk about honor. And today we're going to be checking in and discussing the idea of like versus value. So this week I talked about your story in my vlog on Tuesday. So you can go back and capture that if you didn't listen in. That's a really powerful place to also step into. But for today, we're going to have a little fun. So I'm about to tell you a story in a second, but I want to introduce myself if you don't know me, but only briefly. So my business is Laughing Lotus Wellness, and I have been a private practitioner for years and years and years in clinical social work. And then I switched gears and I moved into the area of coaching. So that's really what I do now. And what I really do is combine my history in the clinical field with my very favorite healing modalities and things like yoga, meditation, Reiki, and things like that. So I combine all the things to address all your layers. So you'll notice that I mentioned layers and sometimes feeling like we're covered in them sometimes in our life. My chair is doing that thing. Do you ever have those chairs with the springs? I'm doing that as I'm shrinking. It looks like I'm somehow on an escalator. I don't know how that's happening. It's my chair, in case you're wondering. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of tea because apparently today is going to be a day. What my brain is thinking and my mouth is saying don't seem to be connecting. So this ought to be a good time. Okay, so we're going to start with the story. If you're new here and you don't know me also, humor is my jam. So I'm going to start with the story. So you probably can't see it super great, but today I'm wearing my Dave Matthews concert shirt. I'm sporting my shirt to tell you my story. So on my bucket list, first of all, in the comments, do you have a bucket list? I'm curious if anyone else has bucket lists. I have mine, and I have a handful of things that are really important that I want to do in my life. And so one of them, and you might not be a Dave Matthews fan, insert your very favorite artist or whomever in your mind. Imagine you're finally going to get an opportunity to see them. I'm like, they're going to stop touring. This opportunity will have come and gone, and I will be so pissed and sad, right? So understand, Dave Matthews was like in the bars when I was that age, right? We literally painted and created our entire cabin when we were young adults and Chloe was young. We literally created the entire thing, like the inside, decorating it, painting to Dave Matthews on repeat, okay? So like, I know all the songs, right? So I see that they're coming to Minnesota and I'm stoked. I'm like, ooh, Dave Matthews Band, right? I'm like super stoked. And I know it's not going to be like a rock out, right? It's just like not Metallica and it's not, like who else? Who would come to town that would be super fun? It's not going to be like Pitbull, right? It's not going to be like a jam sesh like that. But I'm like, I'm going to sing all the tunes. I'm sure there'll be weed. Let's be real, right? I'm here for it. I don't care. So we go online and I start getting tickets. And I'm telling my husband, and I'm really excited. He knows this is a bucket list thing, right? So we're online and I'm looking at different areas. And, my husband, bless his heart, very, very practical, very. And he's doing this. Ooh, those are kind of expensive. I'm like, these would be really good seats right here, right? I find this section. Ooh, we're like off to the left side of the stage. We're not right at it, but we're a little bit. I'm like, ooh, I feel like this is a good space, right? So we go through and I'm doing the things, picking the seats. He's a little like this, bless his heart. And, sweating. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here for it, right? This is my bucket list. And so finally we get to the very end and the fees are tacked on. And when I see the fees are tacked on, I'm going to be really, I was like, oh, like this. Okay. So we're sitting there and he's looking at it and I'm like, well, this is what it's going to cost us and blah, blah, blah. And he's sweating, this is me. Purchase. I just click the button. I'm like, I don't have time or energy to do this. We're going, sorry, not sorry. Purchase, confirm, and I'm laughing and I'm like, sorry about that. We're going. I just was like, I don't do that a lot in our marriage. And so this makes me sound awful because I would not typically just do something where he was like, or I was like, bye, we're going. You're welcome. By the way, the seats were phenomenal. The show was incredible and it was completely a win. And I was so excited to be there and grinning from ear to ear the whole time. So I think my husband really began to understand the joy this was going to bring me. Why am I telling you a story about Dave Matthews Band and my impulsive buying that I don't often do to that degree? Like versus value. So I woke up this morning with this on my heart. So this is an on my heart conversation, which is a little bit different than I normally do. I'm normally very plan out the content, what I want to say, what I want to get to, and have a, kind of a roll with the theme. But I woke up and I'm like, this is actually still really about honoring yourself. So this month is the theme of honor. And I very much been trying to encourage you all to actually have a gratitude practice for yourself about yourself this month, right? Which I know is crazy because everyone's doing the gratitude challenge of all the things that are good in your life, which you have so many blessings. And good for you. That's also powerful. But I think women who can stand in their power and really honor themselves are something to be dealt with in the world, right? Wink, wink. Okay. And I woke up thinking life versus value. We're going to start with Dave Matthews because this was a really great example. So Dave Matthews Band, pretty expensive concert, not going to lie. What a racket, but that's here nor there. I came down to this question. So I want to arm you with a way to have a different perspective about things a little bit and see what happens for you. Do I like it or do I value it? Okay. This is a question. In that moment of pushing purchase or whatever, confirm, I value that. I don't just like it. I actually value my bucket list. I value my time. I value that this is something that I was very excited about doing for a really long time in my life. And that it might be time fleeting for a million reasons. What if Dave Matthews stops touring? I don't know, right? I'm like, I would be really sad because this is something that I really wanted to go experience. And I don't just like them. I value it. There's a deeper connection. And so this idea to purchase these tickets was really honoring myself. It was really a gift to myself. I knew Zach would enjoy it. We have a great time when we go do things like this. We haven't been to a concert in a long time, COVID, all that, right? So it's like, okay, this is really we're kind of due for something just really fun and novel. We haven't done it in a minute. So I felt really I knew he was okay. It was going to be okay. But I was like, it's just the cost, his face was like, and I too had a little, but okay, because I value it. Okay. So I want us to be thinking about when we approach things, do I like it or do I value it? Now, this could lean into I'm going to make you deeply uncomfortable in a few minutes. So buckle your seatbelts. So let's talk in midlife that I think as I've aged, I do more discernment around these kinds of things. Do I just like it? Or does this rock my ever-loving effing world? Right? There's a difference. So I started thinking about this. So here's another spot it helped me lean into as I was thinking about this morning. Okay, let's go into other places in our lives where it gets tricky. So that one was a little tricky because it was like a financial thing. Like, do we invest this kind of money? Going to a concert. I'm so glad that I did. But right, so there was money. So there's different considerations for like and value. So I really valued the time and the memory and the experience. Okay, so that's how I discerned that I would go to this concert. Okay, let's talk networking. I'm in a networking community. For a minute, just roll with me, because I know you might be like, okay, networking, I get it. It's not your cup of tea, whatever, but just lean in for a second. So I'm in a networking community, brilliant networking community, the nicest women, I mean, for real, and so many talented, professional, high achieving, incredible women. And we do these speed networking things and we get in, and the whole idea is to talk about who you are, what you do, services you offer. And then the big piece of this community particular, which I really, really like, is how can I support your business? It isn't just, hey, this is who I'm selling my shit to you, because that's annoying and feels disgusting and gross and slimy. It's very much like, this is what I offer in the world, and I could use support in these ways. And how can I support you, right? So there's a lot of collaborations that happen. So it might be Instagram lives, Facebook lives, summits. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that people get together, book collaboration, in a really brilliant space to do this, right? And there's one of you in all the time. There's one of you in all the time. And so what happens is, as you do this journey, you're picking up and sort of tape rolling. Whenever I see my tape roll, that's what this is. Like lint off clothing. I don't know how that got to be an analogy for me, but like when you go through life, you're going to also lint roll up beautiful humans, right? And opportunities and experience. So one of the things that I think I was realizing was, as I was doing this speed networking, people were like, I love to do a live. I'd love to do with this. I'd love to do with that. And that's amazing. And there's not 4 of me, right? So my point is, I very much like a ton of these women. Like, they are really, truly, when I say, these are very smart, talented women. I can like them the live long day. If they aren't in the wheelhouse where it makes sense so much to overlap, right? And it's not a mean-spirited thing. It just might not be, it doesn't make sense to overlap. I don't have time for that. And so I have to pick and choose which of these women I can step firmly into giving up more of my time and energy. Okay, so time and energy, I want you to really lean into the time and energy piece. This is going to be really important. Time and energy. I don't have enough time to do a collaboration with 20 women. A temporary summit's a different thing. When you're talking about someone you're really going to develop something deeper with, you can't do it with 20 people very well and still manage your business, right? So I think this was a really tough thing for me, was discernment around, oh, she's brilliant. I mean, I have such squirrel syndrome because they're that amazing, right? And it would be easy for me to want to like, oh, this and this and this. And I do wish I had an abundance of time and energy to give, that it never mattered, but that's not true. Now I want to bring in another piece. So this is one, so just hang with me. So now, not only do I have this, oh, I wish I could do all the things, then I also have a father whose health is ailing and needs extra attention. So my midlife has kicked in. That midlife part is like, it's like, oh, here it comes. Here's a layer. Remember I talked about the layers a minute ago? Here's a layer. The layer's coming in, and my time and energy are going to be shorter because I got something else going on. Okay. So now, not only do I wish I had time to connect with all the brilliance, and I wish I could. Hi, Natalie. How are you, sweetheart? I wish I could. I can't possibly. So women are like, so let's get together and do a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. I'm superstar. Yep. Yes, we were going to do an Instagram live. Nope, I can't right now. I can't make that fit. And yep, we were going to do that. And I can't make that fit either. And the hard part is that as we have these adjustments in our layers this way, right? Where I had some kind of stuff pile up on top, I have to readjust. I have to discern. It isn't just, do I like these women? Because my hard truth is that I absolutely do. The reality is I have to look at my value of time and energy. What can I really successfully bring and give? And I'm going to look at that value. And it's not because I don't value them. So get out of the weeds about, it's not that I don't value. I value my time and energy. When I'm doing that, can I show up fully if I overcommit myself to something, right? So yesterday I was doing some planning with a dear friend of mine and a brilliant collaborator. And we were talking about a mastermind. We're talking about all these things and creating it. Super fun. And it's all going to come to fruition. But I had to kind of go, because she and I both have dads that are not in great space. Like literally it's weird. Like we're having this like symbiotic, strange experience together. And I go, I feel like maybe we need to take it a little easier working up to this event we're going to host together. Because you and I both are going to we don't have any idea what's happening for our families. And she was like, true story. So we're talking about and attending to the layers. Does it mean I don't want to have time and energy and value this partnership? Absolutely. I 100%. And this friend knows this. She knows it. And can it fit with my time and energy right now? Okay. Time and energy becomes precious resources in midlife. By the way, if I didn't say that, you're welcome. Time and energy. You'll hear me say this till you'll be like, we know, Jen, time and energy, precious commodities. Trust me. Check yourself out and don't just tell me you don't find that you're making decisions this way. Do you make decisions this way? Put it in the comments. Time and energy. Okay. Because there's going to be a give and take. If only there was 18 of us, it would be so much easier. Okay. So networking. So that was tough because I really like a lot of the women in there and I'm finite. In this lifetime, as it was, and as it is, I need sleep, which is weird. I need meals and sleep and rest and relaxation and the ability to work out and meditate and do all the things, right? And have vacation and right. Okay. Got a family. Okay. So you get what I'm saying, right? Time is of the essence. So that's networking. Ooh, that's a tough one. So we've already talked a little bit about money, right? So you want to think about, what does this mean to me? Is it just that I like something? Or is it that I really actually value it? There's something that's deeply important about this thing for me that I really value it and I want to make sure I attend to it. So we need to think about that, okay? Then we talked about networking. Now we're going to talk about friendship for a minute. Because this is tough. And this is tough because I've been having some really powerful conversations with some women in my life. And this is a real toughie. And it'll lean into some other things we won't get to today. And then we're going to talk about how the hell to make this an honoring situation for you. Okay. We're making our way around. I swear to God. What I think is really interesting in some of my conversations is that I'm just realizing that I'm still a finite resource. So it's very important to me now in midlife. I would say this and articulate it probably differently than I would have when I was younger. I've always been kind of a small crew kind of human being for my friends. I love a lot of people, can hang out with a lot of people, but my real inner circle is going to get the most of my time, right? So I want you to think like I have to pick and choose. I can't be everywhere at once. And I'm going to have to make some really tough calls about how I'm going to show up to these things. And so it's been very interesting having some of those really beautiful conversations has made me really reflect about, is it that I really like you? Yes. And then do I value it enough? Not you as a human. Do I value that time and energy enough? Right. So this is not, I always value human life. That is not a thing. But can I value it? Can I lean into the value enough to say, yeah, like we're going to dedicate some real time and energy to this, right? Because that's a commitment. That's not, I was laughing with my friend. I'm like, it's like dating. Freaking cracks me. I go, it's like dating, dude. And we're laughing and we're like, God, because if I show up to things and I'm like, yeah, I like you, and I see you once every 16 years, and you and I talk once every 4 months. It's not that I don't like you, and it's not that I don't value you, right? But the energy and the time that's being exuded is a component of this. So there's a lot of discernment that we're doing. We're deciding for ourselves in midlife a shit ton of material around value. And this is a really big piece. Do you find yourself, answer in the comments if you're willing to comment, do you find yourself creating different decisions for your life? Because you're like, you know what, I'm in midlife, I've done some things, I've been around. This is where I'm at. I really value my time, energy, finances, whatever it might you. And again, fill in the blank, right? I'm going to throw out time and energy because I think those are really two of our most precious commodities. But I want to say you might have some others that you would toss in there, right? Of course, everyone's made up of value systems. We're not talking the baseline values that we all function from, because I know all of us come with those. But I really want you to think, are you changing your behavior in midlife? And I hear a lot of women talking about their friendships change, they shift. It isn't that they don't like the people that they have been hanging out with. It's that their values, their time, energy has changed and shifted, so that their friends often we're kind of coming at it in a different way. And so sometimes that means even friend changes, right? So for me, I can see it in my network. I can see it in my money. I can see it in my friendships. I can see it in other places. And I've heard so many women talk to it. I thought this is a really powerful conversation. So I think we come to a place where, depending on how you choose to show up in your relationships, it's important for you to decide, how do I want to be in this space? And for me, I really want to show that I value. Sorry, I'm so dry. Better. Okay. So what it means to honor yourself is to really listen inwardly about what's important to you. And sometimes those things really shift. And I find in midlife that we're having lots of conversation in my communities that the value sets are shifting and changing. And what that looks like is really honoring that and really witnessing where you are, who you've become, the journey that got you here, that story, and also realizing that your stories, I'm not talking the one of strength and resilience, because that's my favorite and that's what we're getting at this month, but I want to speak to the stories that are also riding around your head for a minute. That you might also have stories that clearly get in your way when you're discerning things like this, making this decision to honor yourself. And it can end up like an argument in your head. Do I do this? I value this. I really like this person. Do I have a really important conversation with someone where we're leaning into what this looks like and how these changes are affecting me? And that can be really, really tough and very, very vulnerable. Because what can happen is we can personalize these conversations because we're human. And so when someone might show up in our lives and say something like, even today, a really lovely woman was like, oh, I could come on your midlife podcast, and she was talking about what she does. Right now, right this minute, could that change? Yes. Right this minute, does it sound like something that would perfectly fit in my community and my listeners? Probably not. Does that mean I don't like her? No. I value her. I value her time, and I value my time and my awareness and my community and what they need to hear and what they want to grow in. And so, but I'll keep her in the back of my mind. I said, if this feels like something that comes up, that would be awesome. I will be in touch. So I have to use that discernment and honor myself where I'm showing up, my work, how I'm showing up, how the time and energy gets spent, because it's a precious commodity. So this can lead to some really tough conversations. I've been very clear with my business communities across the board. I've got this thing going on. I might be here. I might not. But people that I was going to do some collaborations with, I'm real sorry. The train has gone off the tracks. It is not about you. This is where my life is at right now. And so much grace and compassion, by the way. I want to say so much grace and compassion. So I have been on the very beautiful receiving end of so much kindness about this. But what I'm getting at is my time and energy when something is coming up in my midlife world has shrunk a little bit, because I'm making space, valuing the time and energy that I can give to myself, my business, and my family as we're going through something difficult, right? And here's the thing. I just use myself as an example. We all do this. We all do this. So we're all out there in midlife making these kinds of discernment choices for ourselves. Is it something I like or value? Right? So I just want you to really lean into this idea. So I want you in this time and energy that we're talking about this notion today to sit back and give yourself permission to think about this. When you're coming up against things where you're having to make decisions about money, about a business, about your personal life, about friendships, all these things have this component where we want to take a look and say, do I like it? Yes or no? And I mean, not just like a person, right? But something even business related that maybe is an opportunity. And you go, do I like it? Yes or no? Start there. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. And then the next question is, what's that going to take for time and energy? And do I value this thing enough for my life right now to lean in and give precious time and energy? Or when I sit with that, do I go, I don't got it? People will come to me with brilliant ideas, and I'm not kidding. There have been some really neat opportunities that have come across my desk. And everyone, I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Because I can see the potential in all of these things, which is what I love, right? It's why I love being an entrepreneur. It's why I love working with other entrepreneurs so much, because it's really fun to kind of get in that space. And that doesn't mean that every single time is going to work or that it's going to fit. And so this is really, and I'm saying all of this because this is a shit. This is like, I am in the weeds in this. This is the kind of work I'm doing. I have to sit with things on a regular basis and ask myself. A while ago, I sat in my business. I listed out all the things I do. Do I like this? 0 through 10. 10 is, I freaking love this. 0 is like, pass. Okay. So I looked at the areas of my business and it was a really wonderful example of this. It was discernment. Do I like it? Mm-hmm. Do I really value it enough to give it my time and energy? That's the second question. And I think this is such an epic way to step into honoring yourself and really, truly like respecting yourself, your journey. And when my answer is no, I've got to pass. I've got to go, yeah, that's not for me right now. Maybe down the road, right? Everything could be a no and be a maybe later. It doesn't have to be a hard no. But I want to invite this idea, and I want to make one translation, and then I'm going to scoot for the day. The other translation about this, the snow is coming down. I'm so distracted. It is absolutely lovely. It looks like a snow globe. I'm just saying. All right, squirrel. I want you to think about this. I will not be on next Thursday because Thanksgiving is on Thursday. I will be eating turkey and hanging out with my family and probably drinking. Let's be real. Okay. So I will not be here. But I want to leave this thought with you. As we lean into the holidays, I maybe should have done honor for like 6 months. Sometimes I bump into content. I'm like, this really was worth like 6 months of energy, but that's fine. That's away we go. Next month is working on receiving. Ooh, it's so good. So good. Okay. But for now, how can you honor yourself as you lean into the holidays? How can you lean into that? So it might look like friendships, money, networking in business, self-care. There are a lot of women that are talking about the stress of the finances around the holidays. There are women that are talking about, one of my clients was in our community, or Midlife Repurpose community. And I said, one of the stresses, family. I think she said it 6 times. It cracked me up. I'm like, oh, okay. We'll come around to that for you, honey. So many people are coming into places where this time of year can both be joyful and wonderful and connecting, and also it can be a pain in the ass. And we all know this, right? I'm not telling any truths y'all don't know. So this discernment around like and value become really important, right? Do I value being in debt at the end of the holiday? Okay. So I might have to make some decisions around that, some uncomfortable ones. Do I value doing the family function that ends in drunken brawls every year? Probably not, right? So we begin to ask ourselves questions about things to lean into even that holiday time span where we're configuring what is maybe like and value and how we can most honor our time and energy in those pieces, right? Really, really powerful decision making can be done this way. Do you want to do it on your own? Probably not, because it's hard. You can. I've done it. You can do it. Is it nice to have some support and backup? Yes. I mean, I'm definitely a fan of that because I think it's really just delightful to have people to kind of bounce things off of, which is what we're doing in our Midlife Repurposed community. And so we've been having some of these conversations, and the podcast that I just launched will also be talking about some of these pieces in the holiday. But I wanted to drop that in here, that it applies to everything we do. And it's also really beautifully applicable if you're coming into a holiday season and you're like, do I want to do things the way I've always done them? Is it working for me? Does it serve me? Is it valuable enough to me that I will give time and energy to it? And what I really want to encourage you to do in midlife is understand that you get to redefine that. Most of us are showing up to midlife and we've already got this idea about how it's going to be and how it's going to go. And we sort of psych ourselves out because it's like, this is an old story. I have a great old story about how I do these things, which I didn't even talk to today. It's fine. So I know I have an old story about being gracious about all the things. So I'm really unraveling that in my personal work. And so the things like that can show up for us, right? But it doesn't mean just because we have this story, it has to look like what it's always looked like. Okay. So, I mean, it's really literally no different than the story of the woman who's making her ham, which I love, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but I'll try to say it anyway because it's funny as hell. And she's, getting ready, and she's getting the ham ready, and she's going to saw off the end of the ham. And all of a sudden it dawns on her, she's just done it for years. She doesn't know why the hell she does it. Her mother did it. She's like, what? So she calls her mom. Why? I'm just curious. I'm preparing this Easter ham, and I went to cut off the end of the ham, and it all of a sudden dawned on me, I have no idea why we do that. And I think it was a daughter to a mom, and the mom said, the ham was too big for my pan. The ham was too big for her pan. This woman in her adulthood is literally cutting off the end of her ham, doesn't even know why the hell she's doing it because her mother did it, and her mother only did it because the pan didn't fit it. It wasn't because there was a reason to do it other than it didn't fit. So I want you to have that same idea. You're welcome. So we'll talk about a turkey. The turkey didn't fit the pan, right? As we're leading into Thanksgiving, if you're in the States here, why are you doing what you're doing? It's okay to redefine for yourself the things that you do, the way that you feel, and how you see things, and how you protect and honor your time and energy. All things are not created equal. They're not. In our lives, there's going to be seasons where we're going to want to lean in more heavily or lean out of something because we're human. So I just want to invite this notion of starting to have some discernment, which is really honoring yourself. When you can say, yeah, once that was really working for me, and I would travel to 16 places to have my holidays, and I am done. Because by the time the holiday's done, I'm wiped. I don't want to be doing another single thing ever, never, never. That is not how we want to show up to our experiences. So I just want to invite that discernment, that redefining for yourself, understanding that sometimes we've got extra layers that are kind of covering where we want to be because there's life. And I just get to attend to that. I don't have to shut down. I don't have to lose my shit. I don't have to, right? I just go, okay, all right, this is an extra added something going on. Is it ideal? No. Is it life? Yep. And I get to have a relationship with this, how I want to show up to it. So I can either think this is a shit sandwich, or I can give myself permission to redefine my time and energy. I can redefine whether I like it or value it. I get to do that. And so I just want to encourage that. Even like I said, as we're starting to lean into the holidays, now we're on the roll. Now we're on the the downward slope right into the holidays. So now we're getting momentum. And I wanted to just like insulate you a little bit with some things to think about as you're heading into the holidays and this time of year. But in general, I want you to think about this, right? This is really important stuff. So what I would invite you to do, if this was helpful and you like these tips and tools, I would invite you to head on over to my website, which is laughinglotuswellness.com. And I've got all my videos, my blogs, my stuff. It's all loaded over there. So you can head right over to my website and check that out. And while you're perusing, something will likely show up, pop up, and it'll be like, hey, would you like to subscribe to email and get a free gift? And your answer should always be yes. I've got a really, really beautiful free gift for people that sign up for my emails. And so you're welcome to go and tap into that. That's a really great handful of resources. Actually, it's not just one thing. It's like a nice little series of things you get to try out. So I'm always a fan of experiential things. So that's what you get. But I just want to invite you over there to check that out if this was useful and helpful. And so please feel free to comment below on anything we've spoken about, because I always love your feedback and your suggestions, your thoughts. I value that. Because it's always making me grow and informing me of the things I want to speak into the heart of as I do my work. So I'm really grateful for that. And I just want to send you off and tell you that I hope that you all have a really wonderful holiday if you are observing Thanksgiving. So for those of us in the States that are observing this holiday, I want to wish you well. Hope you have a very healthy and beautiful celebration, whether that's with family or friends or however, or by yourself. Maybe you're a family system that's what you like to do, is you do something by yourself that day, or just you and your partner. I hope whatever that is absolutely beautiful and full of health and joy and connection. And until next time, my friends, I am sending you blessings, love, and light. This is Jen supporting you in that midlife journey to rise on your path to purpose for the best second half you could possibly have. And we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.